Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my summer TBR video. It is a beautiful day outside and I am so ready to read outside after this video. But before that, I want to share some books that I'm excited to read. Some of these books I have already acquired and some have not released yet that I am excited for and have already placed pre-orders. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so the first book that I have here is one that I'm currently reading and it is Felix Ever After by Kacen Callender. This is a book that's been on my TBR for quite some time, but I finally made the jump to pick it up, especially during Pride Month. Our main character is Black, queer, and trans, and is basically just looking for a happily ever after. I don't want to talk too much about it because I'm going to be going really in-depth into my feelings and thoughts in my June wrap-up, but this is a book that is on my TBR, and I hope you guys can add to your TBR as well. The next book I have here is a YA contemporary, surprisingly. I knew I would have at least one contemporary on this TBR list because that's kind of what summer screams to me, but as of lately I've been kind of shifting away from the YA like demographic category. This is I'll Be the One by Lyla. This has an amazingly gorgeous summery color like of the cover, so I'm excited to read it and excited to take photos with it, of course. This follows our main character who enters this televised national K-pop competition to find the next K-pop star, and her identity is kind of put under a microscope because of that. There is a bisexual and fat rep, and it apparently talks a lot about like toxic beauty standards, and it has biphobia and fat phobia. It features those topics. So I'm excited to jump into this. I love YA contemporaries that are at the same time very fluffy and very sweet, but at the same time multi-layered and complex. So I think this will definitely be one of them. I'm intrigued by the premise, although I have to say I'm quite nervous because I have not read a YA contemporary in a long time. The next book I have here is Detransition Baby by Torrey. I bought this because there has been just a lot of talk about it on Bookstagram. I don't really know what it's about because I'm not going to read the synopsis. That's kind of like what I like to do with literary fiction. But the author is a trans woman and I am just super excited to read more from those kind of voices. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this book. I'm just really excited. I'm very intrigued and I'm like excited to read it. So I will keep you updated on this. Okay, so this next book I'm quite embarrassed to share because if you are new to my channel, I am a huge Min Jin Lee super fan. I talk about pachinko nonstop. It's one of those books that I like recommend at least in like one video where I like reference it, but that's like a book that I will always recommend till the day I die. But I am embarrassed that I have not read Free Food for Millionaires yet by Min Jin Lee. This was published before Pachinko, I believe, and I am just super excited to read more of Min Jin Lee's work. I've missed her writing. I've reread Pachinko so many times, but I've really missed her writing. This one follows a first-generation Korean American woman and who lives in Queens, New York. I think it'll be very relatable since it takes place in New York City, especially in Queens because that's where I grew up. So I'm excited for this book, more work from her. It's quite long. I think I've started this book many times, but just have not been able to sit down and like commit my time to reading it. So that's definitely what I want to make time for this summer. So the next book I have here is an Asian fantasy book, which I am all for this summer. I have so much time this summer to dedicate myself a full time to fantasy books because during the school year it's quite difficult to be reading such complex worlds with such complex characters and also like doing school. So I have Jade City by Fonda. This is actually a book that I was meaning to get to in May but didn't have time to, so I'm pushing it into my summer TBR, but that's great because this is a pretty long series, so I plan on getting the other books first before I start this. This apparently it's like an Asian fantasy saga that features intergenerational blood feuds, kung fu, and vicious politics. That's pretty much all I know about it. I don't want to know anything about like the plot, and also the premise is quite complicated if you read the synopsis on Goodreads, but I'm just looking for more like Asian fantasies, so I'm excited to start this. Okay, another book that I just am embarrassed that I haven't read because just people have been gushing about it, and by gushing I really just mean they've been talking about it nonstop, and it is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This is a 1920s Romeo and Juliet reimagining that takes place in Shanghai. I've heard such great things. The author is the same age as me, and I'm just like, I look up to her. I'm like, oh, you're so amazing. You wrote an amazing book. I think I'm just really scared to read this because I'm scared that I won't like it, like, and then compared to like everyone's enjoyment of it. I know it's okay to not like a book, but the hype is really getting to me, as it is with most popular books. But I really hope I can read this summer. So the next book I have here is one that I'm so excited about. It was one of my most anticipated of this year, and it's also super special, and it is Sisters of the Snake by Sarena and Sasha Nanua. These authors, they're twin sisters, and I follow them on Instagram, have been following them for so long. We're actually friends. And this story is just so special because it's written by twin sisters about twin sisters. So this story follows a set of twin sisters who are kind of separated at birth. One is an orphan and one is a princess. And when they meet and figure this out, they decide to switch places. I love a good old princess switch trope, and I just think it's awesome how the authors are twin sisters, and it's like the best version of like own voices, like they're writing about their experience. I myself am a twin, so I am just drawn to books with twins in the story. I just find like it's so relatable to a point where like other people cannot understand if you're not a twin. But anyway, I'm super excited about this one. So the next book I have here literally just came in the mail like 10 minutes ago, and it is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. I picked this up on a whim after seeing my friend's YouTube video in talking about queer books. This one I'm excited for, but I didn't know it was this big. This is like this chunky fantasy. It's chunky. But this book apparently features a sapphic romance, and it follows a captive princess and a maidservant who become unlikely allies. That's pretty much all I know about this book. Tasha Suri wrote Empire of Sand, which I read 2 months ago, and I wasn't the biggest fan of that book. It's like complicated because I love the writing and the world building, but just the plot was confusing to me. But that plot I wasn't really drawn to, but this one I am drawn to, and it also has the sapphic romance, so I am 100% that I will like this a lot more. So the next book that I want to read is the Heartstopper series by Oseman. I picked this up, the books are actually on the way to me, but I picked the first 2 books in this series for me. And apparently it's about 2 boys who meet in an all boys British grammar school where they develop a romance. I've heard such great things about this one, especially with the romance being super cute, but also that it's being developed into a film. So I thought might as well just get a head start on it and start reading it. And I bought it for Pride Month, so I'm excited to read that as well this month, hopefully when it arrives. But yeah, I'm excited to read that. Okay, these next books are books that I still need to buy and I still need to get. The first one being The Ones We're Meant to Find by Joan. This one, I feel like I've picked this book up so many times at bookstores and just never walked out with it. I just feel like it wasn't at the top of my list, but like I want to read it. So like I really want this book, but I just haven't made the leap yet. This is pitched as We Were Liars meets Black Mirror. It's a sci-fi book with Asian protagonists and underlying themes of climate change, which really got me because I love reading books that talk about the environment. So I'm excited for this one, but I still need to buy it. Okay, so this next book I actually just put in a pre-order for, and it is Gearbreakers by Zoe, Hana, and Mikuta. This book I'm super excited for. It is a sci-fi cyberpunk book featuring a sapphic romance. Like, I feel like I'm really in the mood for sci-fi. I'm just in the mood for like weird kind of out there sci-fi, and this book definitely seems up my alley, especially with it being cyberpunk and featuring a sapphic romance. I have decided to not read the synopsis because I just want to go into it taking the full story in, and I just want to be like surprised. Sometimes when I don't read synopsis of books, and then there was like a twist, but not really a twist because it was featured in the synopsis but I didn't know about it. It brings me so much serotonin, so I would definitely recommend not reading the synopses of books. Okay, the next book I have is The Heart Principle by Helen Hoang. I think a lot of people are waiting for this book. It is book 3 in like the Kiss Quotient world. I don't necessarily think you have to read the Kiss Quotient to read The Bride Test or The Heart Principle, but it's definitely helpful because the characters are like interspersed. I love anything by Helen Hoang. She's kind of like an autobi author for me, and this book is coming out this summer and I'm super excited for it. Everyone who has been getting early copies have just loved it. She just writes romance really well, and romance, like for a reader like me who doesn't read romance very often, it's very rare to find a book that I like, so I definitely just will buy anything from her. And the final book that is on my summer TBR, which I have pre-ordered, is She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. This is described as a bold, queer, and lyrical reimagining of the rise of the founding emperor of the Ming Dynasty from an amazing new voice in literary fantasy. Sounds like everything I want: Asian, fantasy, queer, just give me it all, please. This one comes out in mid-July, so right now I'm playing the waiting game, waiting for my copy to come, and then I will quickly devour it. Okay, but that was it for my summer TBR. I have a ton of books, but I definitely think I'm gonna hunker down and read a lot. You guys will be seeing a lot of reading vlogs coming up in the next months with me reading a lot of these larger fantasy books because I kind of like to talk my way through fantasy. But that's all for today's video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!